Hello and welcome to Eye of Gnosis Tarot. My name is Ewan and today we are carrying on with the Suit of Swords, looking at the Four of Swords, also known as Truce. Now for those of you who haven't seen the previous videos, I highly recommend going to look at the Suit of Swords playlist to gain a better understanding of the consecutive cards, as the numbers are very important in the Minor Arcana of the tarot, and here in the Thoth Tarot they are particularly important with regards to symbolism, as well as we pass from one card to the next, and especially we will see this in the Four of Swords as in relation to the Two of Swords, which I have done a video on already. Now I also highly recommend looking at the playlists for the Suit of Wands and the Suit of Cups, as I go into much more detail into the numbers and their esoteric meaning in those videos, and the meaning of the numbers does pass on to each suit. Now, for those of you who would like to just know the divinatory interpretations of this card, there is a timestamp down in the description below, but I highly recommend watching the whole video at least once, just in case you don't know what you're looking at when it comes to your divinatory interpretations, because yes, Truce may be the name on the card, but what does that actually mean in a deeper esoteric and mystical sense? So without further ado, we will get into the Four of Swords. So as we look at the card here, we see these four short swords facing one another in a symmetry, and a St. Andrew's cross frames them. Together they point towards a large multi-petaled white rose at the centre, and we see that we have these two prominent pinwheels above and below, and lots of shattered and chaotic pinwheels around the edge. In fact, there are two more distinct ones here, creating four, but they are starting to fall apart. And if we look above at the top of the card, we will see the sigil of Jupiter, and right at the bottom of the card we will see the sigil of Libra. So now we're going to look at the meaning of the card. So the concept embodied within the Four of Swords is basically to agree to disagree. Here we have balance and stability, like in the Two of Swords, yet that which is lacking the grace and subtlety we see in that duality. 4 is a crass imitation of that peace that we saw in the Two of Swords, and thus we see the concept of the demiurge emerge within 4 as a clumsy and limited reflection of the maintaining principle in 2. And for a greater understanding of the demiurge, please do go and look at the 2 and the 4 of Wands videos that I have done. Now, like all fours, the Four of Swords is a dead end, and specifically here a dead end in thinking. Although it may be stable, this is a stability that is just waiting to be questioned due to its lack of mental clarity and rhetorical skill. And this will invite discourse and violent assumptions, and we will see this play out in the Five of Swords, which is the next card. In the Four of Swords, an arbiter has been called upon to settle the argument created in the Two of Swords and expanded upon in the Three of Swords, which was called sorrow. Thus, a further expansion of Libra, as represented by Jupiter in this card, has created the ultimate, and ultimately flawed, compromise. This is peacekeeping for its own sake, and creating morality as a means of avoiding what may be otherwise necessary conflict. There is no substance to this truce, no integrity and no subtlety. It is simply taking the middle ground to keep up appearances, and not to provoke threat to existing status quos. The lesson here is that moralism is not necessarily the goal of polarity, and instead presents a void for extremism to fill rather than a means of preventing it. Thus, the Four of Swords is as equally dangerous as any extreme ideology, for it is the crime of omission. However, the card is also a time to recover after great pain, and this is indeed the original purpose and mission of Chesed in the Suit of Swords, and Chesed being the fourth Sephiro on the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, which the Tarot is based off. The key to understanding the different dignities of this card rests on the acknowledgement that this is a necessary, but temporary, state of being that we can return to time and again, but it can never truly be the status quo it claims to be. So now we're going to look at the symbolism we see in the Four of Swords. Now, the Four of Swords is traditionally interpreted as a card that symbolises recovery after pain. Now, we see this concept here embodied by the large white rose at this centre. And this, we see here, has rebloomed after its tragic torment in the Three of Swords, if we remember that those petals falling off the rose in that card. Now, the rose here has 49 petals, and this is a number of balance, for it is 7 times 7. And thus associated with the planet Venus, expressing the passivity needed in Libra, who is ruled by Venus, to recover. And the green, in fact, on this St. Andrew's cross, as it is usually white, but here it is green because, of course, green is the colour of Venus, the ruler of Libra. However, this is a brief respite in the world of Yetzirah, in other words, the Suit of Swords. For suffering is the forte of thoughts, and Jupiter is expansive and Libra is balanced and peacekeeping. Whilst this allows Jupiter and Libra to create stability on a grander scale, the shadow side of this placement is keeping peace at all costs, despite any evidence and truth that may warrant a conflict of opinion. Furthermore, in the attempt to please all, we often please none, and a truce is but a space before the next conflict. And going back to the St. Andrew's cross, this is also a representation of sacrifice and humility, and this is because the Apostle Andrew was crucified for his beliefs, yet requested not to be crucified in the same way as Christ, for he did not feel worthy of such a death. Here we see how the Four of Swords will sacrifice anything for its beliefs, except that they will sacrifice anything for its beliefs except that which the belief is based upon. There is a sense of virtue in this paradigm, yet one utterly for its own sake. The four swords we see in the card are all of equal length, which is differing from the Three of Swords, and each bears symbols of the four alchemical symbols upon the hilts, which are quite hard to see on this card, but if you do have your own deck, please do have a good old zoom in on those hilts. This is a further representation of balance, and their points focus upon the centre of the rose, demonstrating that this temporary truce is at least aimed towards some form of truth. And this is, of course, the fifth element, spirit. Yet, as we shall see, this is also anticipating the nasty surprise they shall soon discover, which is the Five of Swords. And for more information on that, please do watch the next video in this series. Finally, the two complete pinwheels we see above and below show the objectivity has not been completely lost, as in the Two of Swords, but the shattered remains of their brethren around them are a clear indicator that this is swiftly deteriorating. So now we're going to look at the divinatory interpretations of this card. So the Four of Swords is the ultimate compromise and appeasement. Peace and respite must be attained at all costs, except of course conflict. Thus hypocrisy is born, in that we will not fight to maintain the peace we so desperately seek. When well dignified, the card represents recovery, respite, mental seclusion, social justice, and sympathy. When ill-dignified, the card is hypocritical, people-pleasing, cowardly, isolated, cold, and restrictive. The key concept here is maintaining a false sense of security in times of stress and turmoil. So that has been the Four of Swords. It's been quite a short video, but it's a very simple concept, the concept of agreeing to disagree. And like many fours, it's a very mediocre card and not particularly one that's easy to work with, but not particularly difficult either. Now, if you enjoyed the information that you saw here today, it would be absolutely fantastic if you would hit that like button, as it really does help the channel and the videos and spread this knowledge further across the internet. And of course, if you really liked what you saw today and would like to watch more videos and keep up to date with the videos that I do, because I don't just do these tarot tutorials, I also do tarot readings as well as tutorials on the different types of spread, then do hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. So thank you very much for watching this video today, and I wish you all peace wherever you are in the world. Goodbye.